I guess let's get started. Let's go ahead and open GitHub. Just go to github.com, log into the account that you created before this tutorial. And then actually, once you've logged in, let's go to github.com/alsheDIVAT. So you should see something like this. This is this person's repository. The person that, as I was explaining earlier, there's people that create Jekyll themes. So they created this theme that we're going to be using. And once you get there, go ahead and go to the first pinned repository that should show up in the overview page, which is the al-folio. Once you do that, you should see just the contents of their repository, which is a bunch of folders, some files, and then down underneath they have just a bunch of documentation about their Jekyll theme. So if you're interested in really going deep and learning some details about this theme that we're not gonna go through all of them, this is where you would go. But so we're gonna just use that template to create our page. In order to do that, go ahead and we're gonna clone that repository. So go ahead and at the top right, you should see a green button that says use this template. So create a new repository with that template. And you should see a page that looks like what I have on the screen now. So yeah, this is just like you're cloning the repository, and you're going to give it the name as usual when you clone a repository on GitHub, which you're all familiar with. You just give it a name. But now that we're talking about pages, creating a page, the name of your repository is important. So the important thing to keep in mind is that your repository name is going to be part of the URL of your page if you decide to not use a domain, like purchase a domain and just use the domain that you will receive by doing this for free through GitHub. So the repository name is going to be appended to your URL. It's going to be your URL once all this process is done. Your URL is going to be your GitHub username. I'm just typing this as an example. .github.io. And then whatever name you give your repository is going to be after a slash, and so repository name. So that's your URL. However, one of the nice things about GitHub pages, so there's some kind of like module where they allow you to create pages, is that you can make it so that your page is just this without anything afterwards. It's a little bit confusing, but in order to achieve that, your repository name has to be the URL, like the first part of the URL. So basically, if you want to make it so that you don't have anything after the slash, use your username .github.io as the repository name, right? So it kind of like loops back or something. I'm not sure exactly the behind the scenes of how that works. If you just want it to be like with something after the slash, then feel free to just give it whatever name, like my page or my my professional profile or whatever. Did that all make sense to people? So I have already I already have a landing page. That's my professional portfolio page. Through this GitHub user. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna actually give it like al-folio tutorial or something. Just because I don't want to interfere with my existing page. But for you, like if you want it to be just without anything after the slash, type in your username .github.io. All right. You want to leave it public because it's going to be a public repository. It has to be a public repository so that people can go to your page. So let's just go ahead and create our repository. And it's going to be generating it. And now you have cloned that repository. You should have all those folders and files in your own GitHub account as whatever name you gave it. So we have to change a couple of settings. This is in order for the page and the URL to like talk to each other properly and all that stuff. So we're just gonna do those settings before launching into like looking at the actual editing the page and stuff. Let's go ahead to go to settings. It has a gear icon on the top right. Go to general. Under settings, go to actions, and then go to general. So actions, general, and then under actions, general, you should be able to find the workflow permissions at the bottom. And so there, give it read and write permissions, and then just save that. So now we're gonna go to code so that you can see the contents of your repository. And I'm going, because everyone has used GitHub, I'm going to maybe just assume some things, but definitely feel free to stop me if you're like, oh, actually, how did you do this? But find config YAML file. It's like a underscore config YAML. And then once you go to it, you should see the code for it. And we're gonna edit it. So just in case, the little pen button near the top right. And we're going to change, so because we cloned it, this is pre-populated with some like settings that are specific to the template, the example template page that I showed you a little bit ago with the Einstein photo and all that stuff. So we want to change a few things because now it's our own. So we're gonna change some stuff later, but for now, let's change the URL. So in this top thing called site settings, the top section called site settings, you should see the URL entry, and go ahead and change that to your own address, URL that as I explained, it should be your username. And then if you didn't add anything, if that was like the baseline URL that you used, then that's it. But because I created something additional, I'm gonna add just the appended part. So if you were intended to just use your username part, this is not needed. Otherwise, do add the name of your repository there. The base URL, you want to just leave that blank. So delete, it says right now / al-folio, just delete that. But don't delete the base URL indicator. Just delete what's after the colon. And that's it for now. We just wanted to make sure that whenever you go to your URL, you'll reach the page that you intended. So let's commit the changes. And I think I don't have to explain committing. I don't have to explain the description and the importance of these things. I'm happy to talk to you about this if for some reason you do use GitHub but don't know these details. So let's commit the changes. And as you know from using GitHub, you can go to Actions on the top menu, and then you will see the process of whatever commit that you have done. So right now what it's doing, it's basically, you can see this initial commit here that says deploy site, or actually, and then there's one unupdated one here, deploy site. That's basically the Jekyll doing its work. When I said Jekyll is a static site generator, deploying the site is like it's doing all this like static site generating action, I guess. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit here because this is the first time when we're deploying the site. And I think according to the al-folio instructions, or sort of like the documentation, this takes about 4 minutes. All right, mine is done. Now it's checking for broken links. Okay, so we're almost there with some behind the scenes settings that we need to do. So let's go to settings again. And this time, instead of actions, let's go to pages. So that's like near the bottom of the one of the subsections in the left menu. And let's go ahead and make sure that your source is set to deploy from a branch. That should be there by default, although some people change settings in their GitHub accounts. So just make sure that it's deployed from branch, and then the branch, make it so that it's gh-pages. And that's it. So save it. And now we have to wait for the action to be done again, but this time the deployment is not gonna take so long. Once your pages build and deployment is done, you should be able to go to your URL and you should see your al-folio template there. So let's check that, make sure that that's working for everyone. I already forgot what my, okay, al-folio tutorial. How are we doing on that? Did everyone reach their template? So now we have a template. That's it, basically. Now, what I'm gonna show you for the rest of the tutorial is how to make some tweaks to that template so you can personalize your own page. So let's go to our code. And basically, all these folders and all these files are your site, right? It's just like different components that make up your web page. We're using a Jekyll theme, like I explained. So Jekyll is a static site generator. It takes some like coding language and some layouts that have been pre-populated, and then it creates a static page, like an HTML page or something. So GitHub is where we're hosting that page. But if you wanted to, you could just host any sort of web page on GitHub. It doesn't have to be a Jekyll-based, Jekyll template kind of thing. So with that in mind, there is a nice database of Jekyll themes. So if you go to github.com, you don't have to do this part. You can just see my screen. github.com/topics/Jekyll-theme. You will see like GitHub's, hashtag Jekyll theme repository. There are 100 or 1,906 public repositories with that topic. And they are sorted by stars, number of stars. And as you can see, the one that you kind of said, yeah, I've seen that before, is the top one, like the one with the circular photo kind of like bar on the left side. And then al-folio, the one we're using, is the second one that shows up. So these are kind of minimal mistakes is another one that looks like that academic profile one. These three are the ones that I most commonly see. They're well supported. There's a lot of documentation. A lot of people use them. There's a lot of like forum threads about really specific tweaks that people want to make to it. So it's kind of advisable to use those, just because there will be likely more support for you to be able to find out if you want to do something with your page. But there's a bunch of other ones that might look different or might have features that the top ones don't have, that maybe you will want. So just wanted to make you aware that you could use another Jekyll theme and how to find those, at least this database that's hosted on GitHub. But yeah, so now let's go back to our own repository. Let's go to our config YAML again. And I just wanted to explain that this is basically your main, like this file is like a top-down settings. As you can see, this is all just a bunch of code with these like green things, colon, and then like some sort of setting kind of thing. So as an example, the site settings allows you to give it a title, the name, like basically it's pre-populated for it to like show your name, middle name, last name, contact information, a little description, information about your footer, or like the text that will appear on your page's footer, some keywords for your page, the language, an icon that will show up as on your browser, the little fav icon. So these are things that kind of like if you change it, it just like permeates throughout the whole page, regardless of subpages and stuff like that. And then some settings, which is like, what is the URL and things. So, all right. So I just wanted to explain that to you. We're gonna edit this config in a little bit again, but for now, I just wanted to give you the basics, the most important things in your file structure here. So under assets, it's where all the like files can be found and then also uploaded for your page. So one of the important ones is assets img. That's where images are stored. So right now, just based on the template, you should have these prof underscore pic. One is a JPEG and then another a PNG. And that's just Einstein's photo. So that's what is kind of like leading to the page to show the profile picture. So let's go ahead and upload your own photo and then upload it to here. So you can, just to make sure, again, even though you're all probably familiar with this, you can add file. So like when you're in that folder, the image folder, you can go on the top right and add file, create new, or upload files, and then go ahead and upload your profile photo. And I just found some random photo in my professional portfolio page that I uploaded myself. All right, so we're going to change the Einstein so that it's not Einstein, but it's you. But before that, I just wanted to point out another important element in the file structure, which is pages, underscore pages. That's where all your subpages are going to be. So the landing page in the al-folio, this this thing that's just like your name, and then it has this like news and latest posts and stuff. That would be under inside of underscore pages about.md. That's representing the landing page. And then there's a bunch of other things like books, CV, profiles, projects. Basically, when you go to the al-folio top menu, the navigation bar, you will see all these subpages. Those are found under underscore pages. And we're gonna check out a few in a little bit. But for now, let's go to the about.md. So access about.md, and let's go ahead and edit it. So you will see once you're in these MD files, which stands for Markdown, you will see at the top, there's like a section that's sandwiched between 3 hyphens. And that section is called the front matter. It's a part of the page that will not show up when you generate the HTML. It just gives instructions to the page itself. So it has things like layout, title, the permalink, subtitle, and then those are kind of generally found in all of these for the al-folio, but then it has a few additional things for this specific about.md one. Layout is basically whenever someone creates a Jekyll template, they will create these layouts that somewhere in your file structure, you should be able to find all the code for it. But basically, it's just when you put layout on the front matter, there's like a subset of like a menu of items that you can use. So one of them in the al-folio one is about, We'll see another one in a second. And it just has like a predetermined structure for that page. And all you have to do is give it the layout name instead of like your file itself, like your MD file containing all the code to create the format of that page. Yeah, so who knows Markdown? Who knows what Markdown is or has heard about it? Like you've heard about it, but like, yeah. So Markdown is a markup language. So that's kind of like, it's a funny, like, flip. But it's like it's what it's called, a light markup language. So it's like very simple. Does anybody know any markup languages? Yeah, so LaTeX is an example of a markup language. HTML itself is a markup language. It's basically like a language that specifies formatting for a given document. That's kind of like a general description of it, like the structure and the formatting of a document. So Markdown is a light markup language. And by that, it just means that it's like really easy to like do things in Markdown or yeah, in Markdown. And so these Markdown files that we're using just make it like straightforward to develop the content and some very simple formatting things for our page. And then Jekyll is going to take care of creating an HTML file out of that instead of like you having to like do a bunch of HTML. So what are some features of Markdown? I'm just gonna go to markdown guide.org. This is a nice resource that just gives you all the basics of Markdown. So it has a cheat sheet and then a section with the basic syntax and then a section with a little bit more advanced stuff. But if we go to the cheat sheet, that allows me to show you kind of like, what this sort of working with Markdown means. Like it just means like, for example, if I want to bold some text, all I have to do is enclose it in 2 asterisks. If I want to italicize it, all I have to do is enclose it in 1 asterisk. If I want to do a list, all I have to do is do like 1, 2, 3, 1 dot, first item, etc. And then once it like it turns into like its actual formatting, it'll create an actual ordered list or a bulleted list. So yeah, so basically you can populate your Markdown file, which like underneath the front matter is where you find the actual content that's going to appear on your website. And then you can like basically work, like insert content into your page using Markdown. So the first thing we're going to do is to change our profile picture now that we're editing this Markdown file. You can see that in the front matter, there's this item called image, and then like it says profpic.jpg. Very obviously, you could simply rename your image that's found under assets img profpic and delete the Einstein one, and then it'll just, it'll refresh it with yours, or just change this, change the name of the image file that is being used in your about.md to the name of the file that you uploaded. So whichever way you decide, just go ahead and do that. And then in addition to that, if you want to, go ahead and change some of the information here. So like right now, you can see in your in the template for al-folio that under the picture, under the photo, it's gonna show like an office number, an address. Go ahead and change that information to yours if you want to, but I don't want to have my address on mine, so I'm just going to comment out this part. So in this language, we comment out with £. So I'm adding a £sign in front of more info and then all the things that were contained within more info. And that's going to make it so that that information doesn't appear underneath my picture because I don't want to have anything there. Okay, so before getting into changing the content of the front page at all, let's just do a commit of our picture and either changing or removing our contact info, just to check on that. So let's commit those changes. I guess as we wait, the next step is going to be me saying, oh, it's really annoying to commit little changes and then wait for it to deploy. So we're going to then go into GitHub Desktop and Visual Studio Code. Before this tutorial, since you all have experience with GitHub, I guess I should ask who has experience also with just working with GitHub locally in your computer and then using GitHub Desktop. So that's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna make it so that we can work locally. Not 100% locally. That's a more advanced step that I'm going to mention later. But at least we can make a lot of changes before committing, and then push them to GitHub. So that's what we're gonna do next. Once we confirm that our profile picture changed and all of that. A feature in about.md that I guess I could have pointed out is that it lets you change the border of your the border of your profile photo to be circular. So you can see here, if I go to about.md, you can see that underneath the image that is calling to populate your front page, there's the image circular entry, and it's false, but you can make it true so that you're cropping it circular in case you want a circular photo on your front page. So in the meantime, open GitHub Desktop. I guess we could be doing this in the meantime. Yeah, let's go ahead. I guess you're all familiar with this, but I'm gonna go through all the steps. So I'm gonna open GitHub Desktop. If someone had not used it before, you have to go to settings and sign in to the same account that you're gonna be using. And then you can go to on the top left, you can access repositories, and then you can add you can clone your repository locally. So you can go to clone repository. And then because you have logged in to your account, you should see your repository there. So I'm going to clone the one that I created for this, the al-folio tutorial. And then you can use, and then you should select a path in your computer the one that you prefer for all of your page files and subfolders to be stored. That's where you're going to be accessing them to edit. So then you clone it, and then you should be good. In addition to that, so who uses Visual Studio Code? So Visual Studio Code will be pretty straightforward. We just want to open, once we are done cloning the repository locally on our computer, go to Visual Studio Code and open that folder, the folder where you cloned it. And then you should just see in Visual Studio Code, you should just see all the folders and files for your page. So my update.md deployment is done. If yours is as well, go ahead and go to your page and refresh it and see if your image shows up. Mine does not. Then we open it in Visual Studio Code and edit from there. And then, push changes to GitHub. So yeah, I mean, of course, it's annoying to update your web page on the browser through just the GitHub interface. And so now that we have done all these steps to clone the repository on our computer and then opened it in Visual Studio Code, we can just make a bunch of changes and then push them so that it's basically a bunch of inherited changes will be deployed at the same time, and we don't have to wait constantly after we make changes. Okay, yeah. So I'm here I can go to my config file. I can go to my pages, about, and I can see my image crop. So let's go ahead here and do some edits to our actual the actual content of our about page. You are now aware of markdownguide.org, and you can then refer to it if you want to do some sort of formatting type of change, like bolding something, having a list, different things like that. Adding a hyperlink, which is basically, you can see it here as an example. It's brackets. So inside of brackets, you add the word that you want to display, and then after that, immediately inside of parentheses, you have the URL, and that creates a hyperlink with this as the words. So just go ahead and edit the text here. Like basically, just add some information about yourself, who you are, where you go to school, what you're interested in, like whatever you think would be useful to display in like a professional portfolio page, like a landing page. So go ahead and edit the text here to say that. I'll give you some time to think about it and write it. And feel free to add like italics or bold whenever if you want to just practice a little bit that, but don't have to. All right, I guess we only have like less than 15 minutes. So ideally, I wanted you to have something a little bit more like final producty kind of thing out of the tutorial, but we're gonna move on. Like now you know how to edit the landing page text. So if you do decide to create a professional portfolio page with this knowledge, you can go and edit more further and like include whatever information you want. But let's move on with a few more steps that I want to make sure I cover. So first one is, who remembers how I would go about and change this that says your UR name? Yeah, config. Yeah. So if we go back to Visual Studio Code and we go into our config file, which is just underneath below all the folders. You should see here at the top. And of course, now that we're on Visual Studio Code, it color codes our stuff, and like it makes it a little bit easier to navigate. But you can see that this top part has that information. So let's go ahead and just quickly edit that to your name. So first name, middle, and last, so that whenever you update your site, it will actually, at least we will have achieved having that front page be a little bit more customized to your actual information. Contact note, it says you can add a little note about which of these. So like that appears, where does the contact note appear? So you see here at the bottom, there's like this, because it will list different icons with contact information. And then all the way at the bottom, it has a little text. That's what that contact note appears. So if you don't want anything there, just delete it. And then footer text, you can see that your page has a footer, this bar that stays even as you scroll. So you can change that under your config file. The footer text is what shows that information. I'm gonna leave it, but you can change that. And then there's also like your bottom bar has this copyright that once you update your name, your name and middle name, that should update. So that's fine. If you want to change the text of your footer like fully, there you have to go deeper into all the files, all the like layout files, and I'm happy to show you if you want to. But we're gonna leave it as is for now. So yeah, at the very least, change your name here so that your page will reflect that. So now let's talk about subpages. So basically, like I said already, under the folder pages, you will see all the different pages that you can access through your navigation bar. In the front matter of these, so if we go to about, which is the one that we already accessed, Actually, about doesn't have it. Oh, about doesn't have it because it's your landing page, but any other like blogs, books, CV, you will see in the front matter this item called nav order, nav and nav order. That is the way for you to make it so that it appears or does not appear on your top navigation bar. So if you want something to not be there, change nav to false, and then the nav order will make it from left to right, the order they appear. So if we change blog to false, it will just not appear here when we refresh. Or, if we change publications to like 4 and projects to 3 or something, they will flip. So go ahead and actually before that, I wanna point you to one of these subpages called teaching. So teaching is using the page layout. So as I told you earlier, there's different layouts that Jekyll, this specific Jekyll theme is using. The about one uses the about layout, and then teaching uses this page layout. It's like the simplest layout that for the al-folio theme, and it's just text. It's just going to have a page of show text. So if you want to create subpages for your page that are the simplest possible, you can one like very straightforward way to do it is to copy the teaching.md and then rename it and change some information, or create a new .md file. Just make sure that the front matter has the layout page. Let's go ahead and change teaching actually. If you do have teaching experience and you want to have a teaching like subpage, definitely, keep that and go ahead and populate a teaching page. But let's go ahead and change teaching to CV. Oh, CV already exists, by the way, but the CV in something cool about al-folio is that the CV subpage is uses a special layout that takes a bunch of information you give it, and then it creates like a pre-formatted CV with sections like basics, work, volunteer, etc. So if you want to have like a CV page using the al-folio format, you can definitely just go to the cv.md that existed, and then you will be able to populate that. So where you find the info, like you can see here, it's just front matter. That's because it's using information that's found something else. I actually have not used the CV, so I would have to help you find where you populate the information that ends up in under CV if you want to use it. But we're going to, okay, we're not going to change the name or anything, but we're going to, actually, there's no time for this. I was going to show you how to embed a PDF file into, like, basically, this is what we were going to do, but since we don't have time, we're going to skip it. If you want to, like, for me to show you or for me to help you do this, I'm happy to do it. We were going to change our teaching page to a CV page. In order to do that, I was going to point out the importance of the title. So the title of your front matter is what determines the word that appears on your navigation bar. So that's important to keep in mind. And of course, the permalink is what becomes the addendum to your URL. So whatever it is that you want it to be, you have to change it here. But we were going to embed a PDF of your CV into this blank, very straightforward page. And we were going to do it using iframe. An iframe, does anybody know what iframes are or has heard about that before? All right, so iframes are an HTML like feature of HTML that allows you to embed things into web pages. So you can use an iframe to enclose like a YouTube video, and then it'll embed a YouTube video into your page. Or you can use an iframe to embed a PDF into your page. So if you're interested in having just like a PDF of your CV as a part of your professional page, let me know and I can show you the steps. As you heard me say, and maybe if you were like paying close attention and you're familiar enough with these terminologies, I just said that we embedded an iframe into your Markdown, and that might not make sense if I'm saying that an iframe is an HTML component, but that is because Markdown actually supports HTML. So you can put HTML directly into your Markdown files, and like if you know HTML, you can just do that. And so you can change like color, different like formattings that you can achieve through HTML by just typing HTML code into your Markdown file. It's not always recommended, but it's a little bit of like a hack that tends to work okay. Yeah, so if you want to do that, if you want to learn how to embed things, I can show you. The other thing that I want to point out is that al-folio supports MathJax 3. So who is familiar with MathJax? So you can just type, basically you can type LaTeX into your, into whatever of these pages. You just have to put dollar signs before and after whatever LaTeX code you insert, and it will just basically show LaTeX math. So I can show you an example here. Not through mine, but the al-folio example. So all right. So you can see here an example just done by the same person that created the al-folio that's embedding math into their page. And they're just doing that because it supports MathJax, and they're just, basically this formula has double dollar signs before and after it. And then in between it's just LaTeX code, like LaTeX code. All right, I didn't have time to show you how to like customize your page, but basically your page, if you're using the al-folio theme, it supports night and light mode. So I don't know which one you were seeing before. My computer is like set to automatically show night mode on things, but like your site supports, your site is pre-populated with both, right? Just because the al-folio template has that. So on the top right of your page, you can change from night to light mode. And I will not have time to show you this, but you can customize the colors of everything in your page for both of those modes. So we would have done that by going into a little bit deeper into the structure of the page, which is these SAS folder underscore SAS. And under SAS, you will find this thing called themes, as a themes.scss file, and that has all the it encodes for all of the aesthetics of your page. I mean, at least the colors of your page. So here's where you will be able to change the background color of your page, the text color, the when you hover over text color, the hyperlink color, and all of that. If you're interested in doing that, it had a few more steps that needed to be done. So if you want to do that, I can show you or tell you or show you. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you is that the al-folio example, if you just go to the al-folio example page that you find by Googling it, so it's this one that just shows you like everything that was created, like copied from your template. It has this blog section, and the blogs that are pre-populated is actually just a bunch of examples of features that this has. So like, how do I include images in my page with like a photo swipe feature, right? You can just go to the blog post that has been copied into your repository and see the code for it. And some of the blog posts actually explain to you how to do it a little bit. So like the one that I showed you for math, actually explains that, right? Like, so this one says like this theme supports MathJax 3, and you just have to surround your expressions with $2 signs. And if you leave it inside a paragraph, it'll just embed it inline. Or if you go to a blog post about diagrams, it shows you code in order to insert diagrams, right? So this is a really rich template, but some of the features are hidden because you might not be aware that all these blog posts tell you how to do a bunch of advanced things. That's it. The last thing that I was going to close with, so the rest of the tutorial was gonna be like, in addition to the things I had to rush through, I was just gonna have you like create a project. So the al-folio template has this section called projects that allows you to create subpages with different projects. I was just going to have you like create one of these projects to be your trend project and like populate it with like information about your trend project, just so that you had like a final product of something that starts resembling your professional page. But you know, without time, then in that case, it's up to you if you think this is useful and worth continuing to do. Last thing, whenever you make all these changes, you will be saving your file, like the changes that you're doing on Visual Studio Code, you will be saving the files, and then you will be pushing you're committing your changes here in this in GitHub desktop and then pushing them. But even with that, even if you're doing a lot of those changes and then pushing them, there might be some things that you're like, I tweaked it, but I'm not sure what it's going to look like. And then I have to wait until it deploys. So what I do is I create a local host of my page, and then I'm able to make my updates and see what it's going to look like inside my computer before I push it to GitHub. Even if we had had time for all the steps that I had planned, we would not have had time for that. But I've done it. I'm happy to show you if you really want to get very into this, like putting together a page and you want to learn how to do a local host, I can show you and tell you all about it.